Out of all the classes in Team Fortress 2, I have to say the Pyro is my favorite. He offers a lot of different ways to play the class, so there is a lot to him to master. You can learn how to get better at hitting meat shots, learning how to reflect better, or you can learn better positioning with weapons that benefit from that. All of Pyro's weapons have different mechanics that take time to get good at and master, especially the Flog. You'll be practicing that weapon for years before you get good at it. But to be honest, the other weapons have different things to master that actually take time to get good at, like pulling off a good combo with the Degreaser, pulling off a good Airblast in general, or getting behind enemy lines with the Backburner. Speaking of the Backburner, it's one of the game's more simple weapons. You get critical hits from behind, and you only have 4 Airblasts. That's it, nothing else. For such a simple weapon stat breakdown, it drastically changes how you play the game. Instead of trying to reflect rockets and protect your team from oncoming threats, you're trying to find your way behind the enemy team and get good picks while trying to stay low. In fact, this weapon changes your playstyle so much, you play more like a spy. So join me as I tell you how it feels to play spy. Wait, isn't there already a video with that title? The Backburner is a simple flamethrower. Gain crits on behind, have 4 Airblasts. No wall of text, no new mechanic, just get crits on behind. Sounds simple enough, seems like anyone can get a good grip on it. Yeah, it's pretty simple if I say so. The ability to have crits on demand is great for Pyro. He's not known for being able to dish out huge amounts of damage like a soldier or demo is, so it's nice to have a weapon that can take on multiple enemies. Only problem is that you have to hit them from behind. Instead of staying with your team, spy checking and reflecting rockets, you're going to be going on the flank route trying to get behind enemy lines for some good picks. I swear, I'll go to the enemy spawn if I have to just in order to get some good kills with the weapon. But before we go on to the next talking point, it's time to talk about the stats. The stock flamethrower can dish out enough damage to kill a light health class in just under a second, but the Backburner crits can dish out enough damage to kill a light class in a quarter of a second. So you basically get a free kill on 4 of the classes and pretty much get a free kill on a medic as well. Even with the damage output, you could dish out a good amount of damage to a demo or soldier. A heavy though, you should probably use your shotgun like normal if they got their sights on you. But this damage output does make you feel more like a spy. Getting a chain burn feels great once you pull it off. Plus, not only that, if you're fighting someone from the front that doesn't want to fight you, their first instinct is to run away, which is perfect for the Backburner because it'll make it easier to secure a kill with the confirmed crits. The mechanic can actually secure you more kills like this if you're able to juke around your opponent and hit them from behind. Now this weapon does involve a more spy-oriented playstyle, but with a slight adjustment. You see, spy is all about stealth, so if he gets caught out, he needs to either hide or fight, and a lot of the time it's easier to hide. With Pyro, however, you actually have a decent damage output, so it's not as threatening if you get caught out. Now that you're behind the enemy, it's time to get some good kills. Okay, that was weird. Probably just a glitch. Shouldn't happen again. Let's go for some more. Something isn't right. I know that stat page only showed 2 things. What's wrong with this? Wait, what's that blurred stat right there? Oh, that's pretty bad. So there's a slight problem. Sometimes in Team Fortress 2, you just don't hit their back even though you're hitting their back. So this weapon really does make you feel like a spy. Sometimes you do everything right and the game punishes you with something that is out of your control. That really sucks. But what you do in that moment, when the enemy turns around and confronts you, there is some power you hold over them, something that you have that can tip the balance in your favor. Yep, you still have access to your Airblast. It has saved my life in this game several times, and the fact you still have access to this is huge for this weapon. On-demand crits are great, but the game-saving mechanic is even better. While you only get 4 Airblasts, it's still super useful to have. Oh yeah, that asterisk, let's talk about it. While it is true that you have a total of 4 Airblasts, that's only if your ammo is full. So if you press mouse 1 for a fraction of a second, you lose 1 ammo, which means that you lose 1 Airblast. Since Airblast now costs 50 ammo, you're only able to use 3 Airblasts. While this is true for the other flamethrowers that grant Airblast, The Backburner really gets the short end of the stick with that fact, which means that you have to be much more conservative with how you use your Airblast. Instead of airblasting every single teammate that you see that's on fire, you have to hope they have enough health to get to a medkit or not and judge from there. If there are too many soldiers and demos at a certain part of the map, you better hope you have a dispenser or payload cart nearby, because you're not going to get through. This is why you probably shouldn't use the Backburner at the beginning of some games. Sometimes there isn't a good flank or way around the millions of rockets going in your direction, so using stock with a degreaser would help in that situation. Another thing about the limited Airblast is that you have less of a chance to stuff an Uber. It's hard to keep up with airblasting someone away when all you have is 4 Airblasts in total. Still, it's a good thing to have. It saved my life multiple times and it saved my teammates' lives too. I find myself using the Airblast more for reflecting rockets versus extinguishing. Since Afterburn isn't the biggest deal in the game, I find it more effective for removing rockets from my team. The only times you can really stuff Ubers or Airblast several projectiles away is when you're near the cart or dispenser. Even with the Airblast penalty, you're still able to play pyro. However, if you really want to make sure your team is fine, you can always use the man melter to circumvent any enemy pyros. Oh yeah, the secondary slot. There are many secondaries for the pyro, all ranging from good to bad, but that's in a vacuum. Some of these weapons work much better with the Backburner, so we're going to have to go through some digging to see which one works best with it. Up first we have the shotguns. While the stock shotgun and panic attack are good weapons, they don't make the best pair with the Backburner. It's less that they're bad, but it's more that they don't have any real synergy with it. They feel more tacked on rather than play together. Even with all that in mind, it's still nice to have a reliable source of damage as backup if someone is getting away. While not the best option to pair, definitely not the worst to pair with it. I prefer the panic attack due to the higher switch speed and higher damage up close, but it is up to preference. Oh yeah, I forgot about the reserve shooter. So I don't have much experience with this weapon. It won't do well with the Backburner, I can tell though, mainly due to the Airblast penalty, but if you're looking for some extra challenge, then the reserve shooter is your way to go. The next one is the gas passer.
Know your fucking place, trash!
The next one up is the thermal thruster. While it is good to have some form of movement, the main drawback is that it takes away a weapon in favor for full mobility. Kinda like the sticky and rocket jumper. I do need more experience with the weapon, but it does pair well with getting behind people and getting some good crits in. But when you're caught out with a short range weapon, it isn't fun. Not only that, but the deploy and put away speed is super long. So it's hard to get away with it, unlike the other movement based items that the other two classes have. The last batch of weapons is the flare guns. The Man Melter is a pretty good choice with the Backburner, with its ability to extinguish teammates and get crits. Only problem is that the enemy team needs to have a pyro, and sometimes that isn't enough because the enemy pyro might not be good. The Scorch Shot is always a good option, but that's because it does everything such as mini crit burning players, has a stun mechanic, it one-shot light classes, it walks your dog, does your taxes, it renovates your house, it can fix your parents' marriage. Maybe not that last one, but the others are still possible. The next one is the flare gun. It's one of my personal favorite weapons in the game. Just being able to crit a guy across the map is super satisfying. Only problem is, you have to be good at hitting your shots. It does double up on the benefits you get from the Backburner, which is hitting crits. So while not the best option, it's still insanely fun to use. And finally, the best weapon to pair with the Backburner, in my opinion, is the Detonator. The Detonator gives you the ability to do small jumps, which may not look like a lot, but trust me, it's super useful. The Detonator is a flare gun that has the ability to explode the flares mid-air, giving you the ability to damage players that you otherwise would have missed. Not only that, but the explosion is able to hit multiple targets, so spamming the weapon down choke points is a great way to kill some enemies, and if not, have him running away for some health. But let's forget about that and talk about the useful feature that is Detonator jumping. With the ability to explode your projectile, you can use this to perform small jumps around the map. Forgetting the Backburner, this is a great tool that can allow you to view the map in a way you never did before. You could jump up to higher areas, get into the fight more easily, retreat from a fight more easily, and if you're really ballsy... I mean, I never said I was good with it. Not only are you able to traverse the map in an entirely new way, but this synergizes greatly with the Backburner. Being able to move around in unpredictable ways will help you get around enemy lines. I can't tell you how many times I've jumped behind a few people and gotten kills like this. It's a huge dopamine rush when you pulled it off well. But being able to move around in interesting ways isn't easy, so I do recommend going into maps in a private server and practice the weapon with some easy jumps before you go on to some more advanced jumps. Get a good feel for the mechanics of it. If you aim straight down and fire out the ground, you'll go straight up, but you can travel further by holding mouse 2 down and shooting behind you. Using these mechanics, you can roam around the maps in unique ways that were previously unheard of without it. Even though this weapon has great mobility, it comes at a cost with the lack of damage. Sure, you can get a good amount of kills with how much fire you can spread around a long distance, but the small amount of damage being applied is barely noticeable if the enemy team has a medic or dispenser around. If you're able to hit your flares, you might as well use the flare gun, and if you want to be the most horrible human on the face of the earth, you can use the scorch shot. In fact, speaking on the scorch shot real quick, I know someone out there is going to say that the scorch shot is also capable of jumps. Let me be clear, it's not even comparable. You are not going to be making any real cool jumps with a scorch shot. You're not going to be jumping around and getting away to cover with a scorch shot. And you're probably not going to be getting cool kills with the extinguisher and scorch shot. The detonator lets you travel farther and faster in all cases. This is due to the fact that if you hold mouse 2 down and shoot the detonator, it will immediately explode, which means the explosion happens on you, so you'll be able to travel farther. With a scorch shot, not only is the initial explosion not going to make you travel as far, it has to be on a surface. With the detonator, you can aim behind you, explode the flare, and travel farther quickly. I know I said the scorch shot does everything, but some things it just doesn't do well. As for melees though, we can go through these quickly. The power jack makes a great option due to the speed increase for barely any downside. The home wrecker is a fine option, but since you're trying to flank around the enemy, you may not be around your engineer to help out. The back scratcher is also a good option. It lets you be more independent with the extra health it grants on pickup. While it is also a good option, the inner pyro in me always wants to be around the medic so nothing happens to him. The hot hand is awful. It does less damage than stock and the speed boost duration is not long enough to do anything with it. The sharpened volcano fragment is also not good at all. If you need your melee to do afterburn damage, go and get some ammo. The third degree is a direct upgrade from stock, and it still isn't good. Stock is useless, and the extinguisher is a fun weapon to get speed boost from and get good kills for the montage. Which, let's be real, that's the important part. So with all that laid down, I think that Backburner and Detonator make a great combo for the Pyro, and advances his skill ceiling much higher with the jumps. I sometimes feel like I'm playing Soldier with how much I'm jumping. And with all that said, I'd like to thank you for watching. I know this came out a long time after my last video, and thank you for all for sticking around. It does mean a lot, and I hope the next batch of videos I got planned are even better than this. And with all that said, see you later.